I came back from Australia in 1993. I think Chalapan was still there, and we never really dealt with each other all those years ago, but I came back to be a lecturer in the physics department, and I stayed only 3 years. I could have stayed to be an academic and maybe become a professor or something, but I chose something else. Okay, so me at Mr. Namidok, maybe if I go and start a school, probably I'll have the chance to help a lot more students throughout the country. Well, the rest is history, I must say. And for these 22 years, we have a lot of our students, including a lot of Manusians, and we're happy about that. So I'll try not to be confused after following from Papa Sam and try to go through traditional education. This is one guy I always admire. I always follow his speeches. I always go to the internet to look at what he's saying. Even to this day, Mr. BNMM too. Because when he was in the White House, and Mrs. Blunt will have been talk, it is very, very unique for both of us. Why? What's the color of our skin? Skin black. And if you're a black man, you are not supposed to be in the White House. True? Not supposed to be there. Okay? But he got there. And during those 8 years that he was there, I don't hear of another president who was scandal-free. You bela arim salah tu? Emine mo bela biket pasen. Emine mo samla something. He is one of the very few presidents who is scandal-free. Now talk belong Obama and Mrs. Blongen. Tu bela talk sam. We could not afford to create any scandal. We couldn't afford that. The stakes were too high. Why? Because local skin blah. Because people already have a mindset. They already have preconceived ideas. Any slight mistake, they will say, "Naimila tokonan." You will look now. So he's one guy that a lot of us students, businessmen, leaders, there's a lot of things that you can learn from the man himself. And before you talk about education, Manus, I'd like to think maybe let's get a bigger perspective. World in context of education and how they regard education. And I listed a few countries. I can list a lot more. I chose these countries for specific reasons. Why me put him one up? Japan. The reason why me choosing Japan and Germany as the first two countries, they were bombed into oblivion in World War II. Mr. Red? The first atomic bomb was dropped on Japan and it was reduced to ashes. And so was Germany. Hitler led them in the wrong direction, and after World War II, people thought there was going to be no more Germany. Today, Japan, after less than 50 years, it rose to the world's second largest economy. Okay? Bombed to ashes, but within less than 50 years, it rose to become the world's second largest economy. Okay? Now it is the third because China has taken over. Okay? Germany, I think today, it was also bombed to ashes, but if I'm not wrong, it is probably in the top 3 countries in the world today who lead in technology. Okay? I'll go to UK. I forgot the date it's written there, but I think it was in 1970 something. And there was a young Labour leader, very young fellow, by the name of Tony Blair. Have you heard Tony Blair? Former Prime Minister of UK. And he was the leader of, I think, Labour Party in the United Kingdom in the 1970s. And before he was appointed the Labour leader of the UK, the Labour Party had been in what we call the political wilderness for 15 years. All this time, opposition, all this time. And then Tony Blair got up and said, like somebody was saying, Albert Einstein, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you'd be foolish to think that you'll get a different result. Huh? So this young fellow came up, and then people asked him, Labour has been in the opposition all this time. What makes you think that as a very young guy you are going to win the British election? And then he said, I'll give you 3 priorities. And so if you ask me about my 3 top priorities, the first priority that I'm going to tell you, the people of the United Kingdom, is education. If you ask me about my second priority, it is going to be education. If you ask me about the third priority, what do you think it's going to be? Education. About 1 week later, they voted. Do you think Tony Blair won? Yes or no? He did. And not only did he win, he won by a landslide. Big landslide through, and it was because of those 3 words. Triple up, talk, yeah? Education, education, education. And just think of it. You would think that after all these years, has sabi wog talk yet education. Huh? Centuries and centuries and centuries. Every history and book that you read, Isaac Newton and all the rest of them, look, I'm lower. The UK. But yet, this Prime Minister, even in this latest 19th century, is preaching education. So Tamimi Togolsem, and he's the superpower Prime Minister saying, my priority is education. How much more for a little tiny island in the middle of nowhere? What should be your response to education? Okay? So if we're talking about autonomy, the single most important pillar, that if you remove that component, all something may go down. You know what? And what is that? It's the human resource. It's the human capital. You can have the infrastructure, you can have the money, you can have the leaders, you can have all those things. But suppose you know what all Saberman and the human resource to drive it, it's not going to work. It's just like the driver of a vehicle. It's good to go and buy a nice car, new one, everything. But suppose you know what driver, is it going to go any places? It's not going to go. So education is all to do with finding the driver. UK, China, I saw on the internet, China is now graduating 3 times as more engineers than the United States. Every year, 3 times. And it is investing billions into internet ICT and internet technology. And it is also trying to make Huawei the best performing mobile whatever in the world. That's the dream. And President Trump in the US is worried about that. Okay? It's to do with education. So Japan has no resources. I think Manus may be rich legally. Japan is just an island. How come it rose to become the world's 2nd largest economy? Because Japan, Germany, South Korea has got the fastest internet in this world. Okay? All that is a land. They invested everything that they had into education. And that's what it is. So that's the education world in context. There's somewhere in this document long where you mix him long team. It talks about the national goals and directive principles. It's in this document that was given to us. I've never had anybody refer to it. Am I true? The national goals and directive principles is a couple of documents, believe me. But I think all one only you may thing. Quickly, it is on the board there. Integral human development, equality and participation, national sovereignty and self-reliance. I think Pokawen referred to that a bit. Natural resources and then the Papua New Guinean way. So these are what is in the national goals and directive principle, which is the core of our constitution. Okay? Equal participation is a very vital part of the constitution. I'll show you the purpose of the education department as set forth all those years ago. And time you look in, it is very similar to the national goals and directive. The language is almost equal. Okay? And it says, the purpose of the education is set forth, and if you go to education headquarters, or you go to Manus Education Department, and you're asking, purpose of education is that, Dr. Kulom knows, they'll show it to you. All Papua New Guineans should be given what? Equal opportunities in education. We should provide the appropriate type of education for the needs and requirements of our people. Naimi plan is something, and we threw away the 5 national goals and principles, and we forgot all about the purpose of education. And we're groping in the dark and wondering, why Naimi Woglo? But all Toksaba is that. Contribute to preserving and improving the standard of education throughout the country, making the benefits of such education available as widely as possible. And as I'm reading this, you'll be asking yourself, are we living up to those or not? And commitment to the national education philosophy that education must be the integral development of all persons. So I like link him, education, purpose, igolong, national goals and directive principle, because document balimi emi state him, they come too long, theme long, autonomy blaming. I attended a graduation at Manus Secondary with Honorable Powes Pakop, and I couldn't agree more with what he said. And me writing Mr. Powes have been talking about him, education landscape lo PNG mi change finish. Nada salay mi talk him, you may manage you got sabe, you can get any job anytime you want. Simply state that where you are from, you can get a job. Powes you talk about graduating student lo Manus Secondary, those days are over. You know stop more. Education landscape, I mean, change and it's finished. Things have changed. Other people have changed. They have moved. They have progressed. They have stepped up. They are as smart, or if not, more smarter than we Manusians. So there's a myth where you meet, Manus, I'm really smart. Think again, things have changed. Suppose you go along like UPNC graduation, Salapan stop. Kwan, you will mangi Manus come, you may count him. I'm actually wearing blue gown, eh? You think I must play come? 10 blood. You think I must 1,000 is it on stuff? Almost 2,000. Okay? So I couldn't agree more with what Powes said. That's something essentially linked. So if we Manusians are graduating 10, the university, other provinces are graduating hundreds. You think why not China is so powerful? Because it's their strength in numbers. The more Saberman you got, strong blue is Pablong. Why not that low enrollment long? Mr. Ting, why not that low enrollment? That is affecting a province like Manus? Because you got low population by default. We don't have that many people. Karkar is just an island. So if we have a low population by default, obviously, you're not going to have many people at university at any time soon. Low achievement results in school. So as teacher in all our high schools are not really performing, there'll be low achievements, so not as many will go to school. Lack of space in institutions contributes to low enrollment. Politics, maybe political pressure, some of the time you can disadvantage me. One-talk system, bribery, cheating is going in some other areas as well, so those contribute to low enrollment. Mix Yombla report long what was available to me to 2014, just to get some feel of when I can selection in tertiary institutions, Papua New Guinea. There's 33 of them. And I think the current trend at the moment is like this. I don't think it has changed. Highlands may lead by 33%. Southern Enemy next 28%. Momase 23%. Manus Island has to fight for the 16% which is left over to go to any tertiary institution. Suppose you mean as a salim planning mangi along tertiary institutions out of Manus. What are the implications? Well, they got high youth unemployment. They drop out and hang around in town and they go to the village. Number two, let me put him this all, probably 50-50. By human nature, bureaucrats, decision makers, and people in positions of power may be biased more often than not to the region. It's just human nature. Okay? So suppose you may not have Sabeman Lomanus on the table, then you are out of sight. You are not on the table. You are not taking part in the discussions of important issues. Time you like slice him cake, you are not there. You are upset. Okay? All white-minded talk, if you want to win something, you have to be in it. To be in it. The other thing is, if you are out of sight, you are out of mind. If we don't see your presence on the table, you are forgotten. That's the implication of low enrollment, so you mean assign as many students as possible to higher learning institutions. Milak so statistics for national selections to tertiary institutions that may collect him over 6 years. I forgot to, but I'll stand over here. Can you see 2013 to 2018? You can see that, first row? Okay. Let's look at grade 8, for example. In 2018, how many students went to grade 8? 106,087. Let's go fast track right up to 2018, last year. How many students went to grade 8? 133,745. Okay, it's like this. Can you still hear me? If a student went to a primary school in 2013, when do you think he'll get to grade 12? That will be 2013 and grade. He'll be grade 12 in 2017, huh? He'll be a grade 12 in 2017. Right? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'd like to show you this. I'm really interested in the primary result because it will get us thinking. And I think we need to sort out, drop out the primary. Because we are forgetting the primary system. But that is where all the human resource comes from. So if you were a student in 2013, you were among the 106,087. And when they tried to choose the grade 12 students in 2017, how many students who originally were in grade 8 never got to grade 12? How many? 78,121. Why? Because those who sat for the grade 12 exam in 2013 is just 27,966. What has happened to all those 78,101 students? They all went to grade 8 students, they all lost. Communists. They never got to the university. Let's look at 2014. If you are a grade 8 student in 2014, you would reach grade 12 in 2018. Okay? Go to 2018. How many students were rejected in 2018? 85,768. That means if you are a student in a primary school in Papua New Guinea right now, 73% of you guys will never ever see grade 12. That's a really huge percentage, huh? People are through here. What are we saying? That 85,000 students will never have the fundamental knowledge in subjects. And all around, I think, very lowly educated. Okay? I'm statistics here. I won't bother to go to the other statistics because time is up. Ilak up. I'll skip that one. I'll show you the statistics in other countries. Students who go to primary school and they were able to finish grade 12. All OECD countries like United States, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, students who go to do grade 8, 84% complete year 12. 84%. Australia, the national average is all primary students who go there, 83%, they complete grade 12. In Northern Territory, which got the lowest figures for primary continuing to complete grade 12, 73%. Canberra has got the highest of primary school students who go all the way to complete year 12. That's 90%. What about PNG? How many percent of our primary school students go to complete year 12? 26%. If pressure is being applied at the top and things are difficult at the top, for sure it will affect Manus Province, huh? And there'll be a drop in low enrollment. If we go and revisit the purpose of education set forth, spirit of our constitution, the purpose is that all Papua New Guineans should be given equal opportunities. I think we are a long way away from achieving that. Huh? 26% are only going to complete in secondary studies. And all these things, so I'll just look at that one. Given the statistics that we have, give me looking beneath, and the purpose of education, I think this is a standard which is required by purpose of education which has been set forth. I think even of fulfilling, we are not even coming close to fulfilling it. A lot of our students, got opportunities, they are just going by the ways, and there's a very huge percentage where you may look at them now. Number 3, it is normal now and it is forgotten that the majority or bulk of our students, past, present, in the foreseeable future, do not go beyond primary school and therefore do not possess the fundamental and basic subject knowledge to be employable, create employment, or participate in an aspiring economy that will inevitably be knowledge and technology driven. We want to be the richest black nation on earth. You can't be serious with education stats. Suppose you compare it with other countries, it's almost 100%. So if we are going to be a very rich nation later, there's a travel at 26% of primary school dropouts. You really have to drop it down. I think I'll skip all these things in the context of Manus. How do you compensate? We've got very relative low enrollments. The education landscape has changed. How do you compensate for that? How do you make up for that? The first point we put in is to be what? You have to be smarter. Okay? Now, requirement is now on us to be a bit more smarter now. I will not have the chance to show you what we do at our school in terms of ICT, IT, and all that. But you have to be smarter, and I went and saw the Unitech students, Manus students, a few years ago, and I said, when our numbers are very small, and you have the privilege as a Manusian to be in a university, just scraping through, just passing, just getting over the line, it's no longer good enough. To be a bit more than that. Because you may not plenty, the number shows us that I'm tumble spirit. And one little suggestion to so long, if we are going to be thinking about autonomy, Desla, I heard about the word independence. Okay? Independence not in the real sense that you want to break up or anything, but you have to be independent economically, and I'd also like to add, you have to be independent knowledge-wise. Okay? You have to be independent knowledge-wise. You know, you ask him, Manus Province, look, I'm walk below you. Because you are also knowledge independent. You like straight him government organization, you got 7 man blow Manus yet, who will do it for you. It's not only it is also independence in knowledge. And if you want to be smart, one of the things that we have to invest in it and follow what China is doing, you have to invest into infrastructure and training for ICT, computer. Culture, you see computer, business, government, work, he must come up strong, no go through. Okay? Enough manual, yeah? It's not going to get you anywhere. Enough pen, paper, and people. If you want to be autonomous, you have to have the culture of going into computing. Otherwise, it will be difficult to maintain the autonomous in anything. Okay? So one of the suggestions, no experience from all these years, is that we should be looking at training people who can be programmers, computer programmers, okay, who can do design, who can be software engineers. So plenty or something can be automated. You like check him round locks you walk logo. See people sell a big night, 12 o'clock night, nobody knows. How much is on board? CB Sabiat law, the high seas, I mean Puluan Peninsula tuna is gone. Who knows how much is being removed? There is no technology to track all these resources being stolen. Now how about you track them also? Lo paper and pen? Too slow. So plan is something whether it's in government, in business, or in this all this or something. We are always running late because we are not being smart. Okay? So side blood education, me like one talk is if we can invest heavily into this area. Computers help in research, production, distribution, marketing, banking, team management, business automation, data storage, employees management, and very helpful to increase productivity, business, time wasted in government. All of this has to be go to a database, a computer software. Now you may manage, you may not have a programmer to do all these things. Time relaxing out him, some of the programmer is stop, look, I'm not writing some of the code to do program. No application will manage it. All the provinces. So if there is one area that me like specify long, apart from all these other areas where you can look long in. If we want to, with given our small numbers, how do you compensate? You be smarter, okay? And me like him investment, believe me, apart from mathematics, science, and all these other things, you can look long. There's a area below ICT. So I think there's a few more to go, but I think I'll finish at that one. And I won't go into that, so that's about all. Thank you too.